My husband had barely been reborn when he declared he'd divorce me to marry his cousin. My mother-in-law slapped him in shock. Your cousin is already a noble lady in the palace. Do you want to bring ruin upon us with such treasonous words? My husband froze. He didn't know I'd been reborn 4 years before him and that his cousin had already been sent to the palace by me. In my past life, my husband favored his cousin above all, scheming endlessly to take my life. This time around, I'll see if he dares harm the emperor. Oh, but when he discovers I castrated him long ago, what a delightful surprise that will be. I tended to my mother-in-law's illness and took my breakfast in her chambers. After the meal, she urged me to return to my quarters to rest. But if I went back now, wouldn't I be the first to discover my husband's corpse? I took her hand. No need to rush. Mother, your feet grow cold at night. I'll sew you a pair of night socks today. My mother-in-law kept praising my filial devotion, then sighed over my husband's worthlessness. I smiled, hearing hurried footsteps outside the courtyard. My smile grew more genuine. Unexpectedly, bounding in through the door was my husband, Luo Yuzhong. Startled, I clenched my hands, frantically recalling if the poison had been administered correctly. Luo Yuzhong merely gave me a fleeting glance before rushing to my mother-in-law and declaring, "Mother, I finally understand. Cousin Wanwan is my true savior." Back then, Chu stole her credit, drove a wedge between Wanwan and me, and schemed her way into this marriage. Now I will divorce Chu and marry cousin Wanwan. I froze. Mother-in-law's face contorted with horror. She sprang to her feet and slapped Luo Yuzhong hard across the face. "Mother, you may be furious, but my resolve won't waver. Unless I marry Wanwan, I'll never find happiness in this life." Luo Yuzhong clutched his stinging cheek, stubbornly insisting. His mother pointed at Luo Yuzhong, trembling with rage. All the servants in the room kept their heads bowed, not daring to breathe. I hurried over to pat my mother's back to help her calm down. Luo Yuzhong remained oblivious, chewing. "If you hadn't driven a wedge between me and Wanwan, I wouldn't have given you a second glance. Flattering my mother now won't help you. Be sensible and go apologize to Wanwan." The mother-in-law finally caught her breath. "Shut up!" The mother-in-law glared at Luo Yuzhong, stamping her foot in frustration. "You ungrateful son. Suwan has already entered the palace as a noble lady. Are you trying to ruin our entire family now?" "What?" Luo Yuzhong looked utterly incredulous. "But it's only the 7th year of Guangqi." Wanwan was still upset that I hadn't married her. Luo Yuzhong protested. Hearing this, I knew for certain Luo Yuzhong had reincarnated just like me. Only, his rebirth had come 4 years later than mine. I grabbed the vase and smashed it down on Luo Yuzhong's head with a crash. Luo Yuzhong collapsed unconscious. I buried my face in my mother-in-law's lap, sobbing uncontrollably. She patted my hand and addressed everyone in the room. The young master suffered a momentary fit of hysteria. What just happened must remain between us. The servants all responded in unison. After all, publicly declaring he would marry a palace concubine or regret it for the rest of his life, if word got out. The Luo family wouldn't have enough heads to chop off. The mother-in-law looked down at Luo Yuzhong on the floor, her face filled with pity. I stammered. "Your daughter-in-law acted in desperation just now. What if something happened to my husband?" Mother-in-law sighed. Though she pitied Luo Yuzhong, she could only say, "That good for nothing. Thank goodness you knocked him unconscious in time." She scanned the room and sighed again. Eyeing. "Go personally to the gatehouse and fetch a doctor. Leave the servants in this room." I nodded quickly, knowing mother-in-law intended to reprimand the servants further. Stepping outside her courtyard gate, my pace slowed. I'd struck Luo Yuzhong with restraint, knowing I couldn't kill him. But I could prolong his agony, let him suffer longer, bleed more, weaken further. Every ounce of pain he endured brought me an ounce of joy. Lost in thought, I spotted Luo Yuzhong's personal servant rushing toward me. "What's happened?" I demanded. The servant found his voice, "Master." He woke up this morning, suddenly muttered that noble lady's name, then asked me what year and month it was. Then he just ran off. I chased him desperately but couldn't catch him. My expression darkened. This is no trivial matter. Who in the master's courtyard witnessed this? I took the servant back to the courtyard, gathering all the servants who had overheard Luo Yuzhong's delirious ramblings. I also took the opportunity to cover up any traces of my attempted murder. When I returned to my mother-in-law's courtyard with the physician, Luo Yuzhong was just regaining consciousness. In a dreamlike murmur, he called out, "Wan Wan." My mother-in-law sprang to her feet and slapped him again. I rushed forward, grabbing her hand. "Mother, my husband is already in terrible pain from his injuries. Please let the physician examine him first." Outwardly, I appeared utterly devoted to Luo Yuzhong, but my eyes held nothing but scorn. After reincarnating for several years, the tangled web of love and hatred between Luo Yuzhong and me should have been severed once and for all with his death last night. Yet, though the man of this lifetime died, the man from my past life has been reborn here. Very well. In my past life, he destroyed my entire family. Letting him die so easily was not enough to satisfy my vengeance. Luo Yuzhong and I were betrothed since childhood. My family coveted his ancestors' imperial favor, while his coveted our immense wealth. I never minded his affection for his cousin. Luo Yuzhong could afford to keep as many beauties as he pleased, as long as he upheld his family's prestige, granted me the dignity of a legitimate wife, and allowed my family to leverage the Luo name in business dealings. After all, among the privileged young nobles in the capital, a fool as easily manipulated as him was a rare find. Yet Luo Yuzhong was infatuated with Su Wan, wanting her as his primary wife, yet unwilling to part with my family's wealth. Before the wedding, he and Su Wan hatched a vicious scheme. They had bandits kidnap me to ruin my reputation. Once I'd lost the dignity to be his primary wife, he'd graciously permit me to become his concubine, bringing my vast dowry with me. I played along with the scheme, learning Su Wan claimed to be Luo Yuzhong's childhood savior. I orchestrated her abandonment of him during the bandit chaos. Then I presented fabricated evidence convincing Luo Yuzhong that I was actually his childhood rescuer. This sowed discord between Luo Yuzhong and Su Wan. He banished her to a nunnery and happily married me. After our marriage, I felt little affection for Luo Yuzhong, but he could agree to such a vile scheme to ruin a woman's reputation, and then discard Su Wan, whom he once deeply loved, like a worn-out shoe, proved him heartless, unprincipled, and lacking in virtue. Thus, I remained constantly wary of him. But open threats are easy to dodge, fools are harder to guard against. 3 years into our marriage, Luo Yuzhong rekindled his old passion for Su Wan. Seeing Su Wan suffer through 3 years of monastic seclusion, Luo Yuzhong resolved to play the hero, rescuing the damsel in distress and punishing evil to uphold righteousness. His plan: eliminate me, seize my dowry, take over my shops and estates, then formally marry Su Wan as his legitimate wife, ensuring the child she carried would have a noble birthright. By then, I had already solidified control over the Luo family like iron. Luo Yuzhong, Su Wan, and Luo Yuzhong's mother, the 3 of them took turns plotting against me. But I thwarted every scheme. Unable to overcome me, Luo Yuzhong suddenly lost his mind. In public, he shouted about rebelling and uttered many treasonous words. He even claimed my Chu family had been funding him all along, making us his co-conspirators in rebellion. He planned to use the execution of 9 clans to destroy both my Chu family and himself. My family suffered immense damage, sacrificing half our fortune just to persuade the emperor to investigate thoroughly and spare our entire household. Yet Luo Yuzhong remained determined to see me dead. After all, He had already contracted syphilis and was doomed to die soon. Before his rebellion declaration, he deliberately lived and ate alongside plague-infected refugees for several days. When our entire family was imprisoned alongside Luo Yuzhong, we were infected by him. Later, every member of the Chu family perished from the disease. After death, our bodies were burned to ashes, leaving not a single bone behind. Burning with hatred, I reincarnated back to my wedding night with Luo Yuzhong. After testing the waters, I discovered I was the only one reborn. So, from that moment, I began laying my plans. Exactly 4 years later, on the very day I completed my revenge and poisoned Luo Yuzhong, the man from my past life reincarnated. Perfect. Debts must be repaid to their rightful owners. This time, I'd make sure he died knowing exactly why. I watched Luo Yuzhong, still dazed. The physician bandaged the wound on Luo Yuzhong's head and whispered to his mother-in-law, "Only superficial injuries. Rest will suffice. But young Master Luo mustn't take those potent concoctions anymore. He needs to ease his mind. His pulse is fading fast." Her face darkened. I immediately turned away to wipe my tears, covering the slight smile tugging at my lips with my handkerchief. The doctor found no evidence of lethal poison in Luo Yuzhong. A year and a half after my rebirth, the concubines I had taken for Luo Yuzhong bore children one after another, rendering him useless. Thus, I made Luo Yuzhong's manhood useless. Luo Yuzhong was frantic then, seeking thrills with one beauty after another and consulting countless physicians. He started by secretly taking potent concoctions to avoid scandal, then grew desperate, seeking out folk remedies and even trusting wandering alchemists' elixirs. After consuming too many strange concoctions and potions, his body was already ruined. His pulse was so chaotic that even the imperial physicians dared not claim they could cure him. Had Luo Yuzhong cared for himself at that moment, he would have pressed the physician for a clearer explanation. Alas, Luo Yuzhong loathed any hint of his inadequacy. The mere suggestion sent him into a rage, once driving him to madness and the murder of a concubine. Thus, physicians dared only offer veiled warnings. Even his mother-in-law avoided tempting fate on this matter, resorting instead to secretly urging me to manage him. Luo Yuzhong impatiently waved the physician away. "Out. Get out! Mother, I have something to ask you." Before the physician could even close the door, Luo Yuzhong demanded, "Mother, about Wan." I covered my mouth. "Husband, be careful with your words. You must not address a noble lady by her given name." Luo Yuzhong glared at me with dark fury, chewing. "You venomous viper. How dare you?" Smack! His mother-in-law struck him again. Luo Yuzhong stared wide-eyed. "Mother, why are you hitting me so much today?" I hurried to the doorway, glanced around, and shook my head at my mother-in-law, signaling no one was there. Only then did she scold him. "Luo Yuzhong, I've endured your disgrace to the Luo family's reputation, but Su Wan is already in the palace. No matter how much you still care for her, you must let her go. Do you want your mother to lose her head with you?" Luo Yuzhong snapped upright, entered the palace. Wan. She was clearly waiting for me. She promised to wait her whole life. I never got the chance to treat her well. How could this happen? "Mother, tell me why." I chuckled inwardly. When Luo Yuzhong first lost his virility, the servant I planted gave him a tip: have him gaze upon various beauties, it might spark something. Luo Yuzhong took it to heart. He roamed brothels and pleasure houses, and I'd occasionally give him the antidote, making him go from good to bad in fits and starts. He thought admiring beauties worked, so he grew even more intimate with the courtesans. I used this time to send Su Wan back to the Luo family, letting her witness firsthand how many beauties Luo Yuzhong had showered with similar sweet nothings. Heartbroken, and learning of Luo Yuzhong's impotence, Su Wan weighed her options. Discovering she had caught the emperor's eye, She decisively entered the palace. A woman who couldn't handle family intrigue venturing into palace politics, alas. Once you step through the palace gates, it's a sea of troubles. My mother-in-law pinched me, signaling for me to explain. I feigned innocence, husband. It was Wan. Luo Yuzhong glared at me. It must be you. You poisonous woman. You schemed against us even before our marriage. Wan not waiting for me this time, that's your doing too. Chewing. You've reincarnated as well? What have you done since your rebirth? Luo Yuzhong struggled to get out of bed. Mother. I've been reborn. Listen to me. That poisonous woman chewing will ruin our entire family. I clutched my mother-in-law, stammering timidly. Rebirth? Isn't that the story from that Taoist priest who swindled my husband out of 3,000 taels of gold? Mother-in-law. Has my husband gone mad trying to cure his impotence? Luo Yuzhong was still warning his mother to be wary of me. Her body shuddered violently as she stumbled toward the door, awing. You can't speak so bluntly. Quick! Someone help! Before his rebirth. Luo Yuzhong would fly into a rage and lash out whenever anyone mentioned his impotence. I followed closely behind my mother-in-law to the doorway. As she instructed the servant, I turned back and said to Luo Yuzhong, regardless of Su Wan. Luo Yuzhong, you've become a eunuch for life. Enjoy the surprise I've prepared for you. The servant swiftly locked the door and stood guard at the entrance with a club. Watching my mother-in-law's ashen face, I murmured to myself, why has my husband gone mad again today? Inside, Luo Yuzhong shrieked in a high-pitched voice, why? I can't do it anymore? Impossible. Impossible. His voice was frantic. My mother-in-law trembled, Ing. I thought you were level-headed. Never expected your words would reopen Yuzhong's wound, forcing me to hide away again. And earlier, Yuzhong said you. Just then, the sharp crash of a vase shattering echoed from within. Her mother-in-law's face paled, my Xijo green-glazed vase. I gave a sarcastic smile. My husband is now in his mother's room, smashing her belongings. These past years, I deliberately pampered her mother-in-law with fine food and drink. Though the Luo family once held status, they possessed little wealth. Their life was merely superficial grandeur. It was only after I arrived that his mother-in-law truly experienced a life of luxury. They say it's easy to go from frugality to luxury, but hard to go from luxury back to frugality. The sound of things being smashed continued inside. Mother-in-law's face was all wrinkled, and she kept stamping her feet. I said softly, Mother, my husband's temper is worse than ever this time. If he's just smashing things, even if he destroys the entire house, even if he destroys the whole mansion, at worst, our family will just have to live a life of poverty with him. But if he utters those treasonous words again, it could lead to the execution of our entire family. When I mentioned a life of poverty, my mother-in-law sighed repeatedly. She gritted her teeth. Yuzhong has lost his mind. He must be locked up to prevent him from speaking further and being overheard. Inger, you must not show mercy. Two burly servants, wielding cotton quilts, burst into the room. Luo Yuzhong bellowed, how dare you? Let me go. Soon, his voice faded away, while my mother-in-law stood heartbroken, surveying the devastation. I dipped my handkerchief into the spot where her pet civet cat usually relieved itself, then shoved it into Luo Yuzhong's mouth. Luo Yuzhong gagged until tears streamed down his face, glaring at me with fury. His hands and legs were bound by the servants. Now, like a fish on a cutting board, he could only twist his body, utterly powerless to make a splash. I shook my head. Husband, had I known, I wouldn't have gone to buy that glassware. Then that Taoist wouldn't have had the chance to deceive you. Mother-in-law gave a soft cough. Several days prior, I'd heard that a merchant ship carrying precious goods was soon to arrive at Dengzhou port. I decided to purchase a birthday gift for my mother-in-law. Before leaving, I asked her to watch over Luo Yuzhong. She readily agreed. Then, just as I departed the capital, her favorite opera troupe was about to perform a new play she couldn't resist. Busy enjoying the performance, she let the fake Taoist slip through the cracks and deceive Luo Yuzhong. My plan was that even if Luo Yuzhong died from the fake Taoist's elixir, the blame would never fall on me. Fearing the Luo family would accuse her of neglecting Luo Yuzhong while indulging in pleasure, she would never dare report the fake Taoist to the authorities. Those harboring ulterior motives naturally align in maintaining a facade of peace. Digging too deep would only expose their own secrets. Thus, merely dazzling my mother-in-law with wealth and luxury wasn't enough. I needed her to see herself as an accomplice in Luo Yuzhong's death. My mother-in-law sighed. Yuzhong, the entire Luo family, your dozen children, all need to survive. Do not blame your mother for being heartless. Once you calm down, I will release you. Luo Yuzhong's eyes widened again. In my previous life, he and I had only 2 children. Later, Su Wan conceived one, but it never came to term. The mother-in-law turned her face away. Servants, take the young master back to his room and lock him up. Merely confining him to his room would not suffice. Only death would bring Luo Yuzhong to rest. I flashed Luo Yuzhong a defiant smile. Sniffling, I pleaded with my mother-in-law. Mother, in a few days it will be Lady Wan's birthday. I believe that's why my husband suddenly lost his mind. I was thinking of using the merits I've accumulated over the years as an imperial merchant to seek the Empress's favor, so Lady Wan could leave the palace for a visit. Impossible, my mother-in-law gasped. Her face drained of color. Absolutely impossible. Since my rebirth, I've always been a master at maintaining appearances. Throughout the estate, it was common knowledge that even though Luo Yuzhong was impotent, I loved him as if under a spell. Now, my mother-in-law feared I might recklessly create an opportunity for Luo Yuzhong and Su Wan to meet again. Therefore, she specifically ordered that I was forbidden from visiting Luo Yuzhong. For this purpose, she had him transferred from his comfortable courtyard to a side room in the ancestral hall for confinement. That evening, I arrived at the ancestral hall carrying a pot of medicine. The moment Luo Yuzhong saw me, he began to writhe. In my previous life, to prevent the spread of plague, all those who died from the disease had to be cremated. Back then, my mother hadn't fully passed away yet. When the flames touched her, she sat up in agony, struggling with even more helplessness and pain than Luo Yuzhong. So, I poured the entire potion straight into Luo Yuzhong's mouth. Blood blisters immediately formed in his throat. Luo Yuzhong retched incessantly, the veins on his neck bulging, yet only a hoarse sound escaped him. He was silenced. I wouldn't give him another chance to speak. I feared he'd go mad again. A man like him, driven to the edge, cares for nothing, dragging everyone down to hell with him. So ending his life outright was the safest course. Even if he didn't die immediately, I'd ensure his mouth couldn't speak. His limbs couldn't move. His eyes couldn't see. Only his ears would remain, forced to hear everything I'd done to him these past years. He'd bear it all, unable to vent, unable to resist. I deliberately feigned deep affection to persuade my mother-in-law to lock Luo Yuzhong in the ancestral hall. The side courtyard was usually deserted, but unexpectedly, a nest of poisonous ants had made it their home. I forced Luo Yuzhong to drink water laced with honey and ant venom. Now, ants are already crawling over his body. Watching the ants, I said, Luo Yuzhong, I deliberately sent Su Wan to the palace. She truly loved you once. Now she's entered the palace alone, demoted to the lowest-ranking noble lady, without family connections or imperial favor. She's vulnerable to everyone's cruelty. Last winter, when water froze instantly, she was punished by having to wash clothes in icy water. It was truly miserable. Luo Yuzhong clenched his fists, raising his hand as if to strike me. I didn't hold back either. grabbing a wooden stick. I struck him hard. Luo Yuzhong fell to the ground in pain. I smiled, kneeled down and kowtow in repentance. And I'll tell you how Su-won entered the palace. The truth would surely pierce his heart. But Luo Yuzhong had just been reborn. Knowing nothing. He had no choice but to listen. Though it would be painful and heart-wrenching. He knelt down awkwardly. I pulled 2 spirit tablets from my sleeve. A flicker of confusion crossed Luo Yuzhong's face. On the tablets were the names of my 2 children from my previous life, Ichuan and Shiji. After rebirth, I could save everyone wrongfully killed because of Luo Yuzhong, except my 2 children. Luo Yuzhong bowed his head, kowtowing again and again. In my heart, I said, Ichuan, Shiji, what your father owes you, I will make him repay with his life. Rest assured and be reborn. Perhaps Luo Yuzhong also felt remorse. For he knelt and bowed for a very, very long time. After a long while, I untied his wrists. He picked up paper and brush. Writing, Inger. I was wrong before. But you shouldn't have denied Wanwan a chance to live. If you had. I had no desire to listen to his nonsense. I snatched the brush from his hand, Luo Yuzhong. I drugged you to become a eunuch. You are no longer a man. Su-won has entered the palace, there is no possibility between you in this lifetime. She truly waited for you in the nunnery all this time. But when I arranged courtesans and concubines for you, you had no time for her. So, heartbroken, she chose to enter the palace herself. Oh, she knew you were impotent too. Not only did you lose her love, but you also lost every shred of dignity and respect in her eyes. Luo Yuzhong stared down in disbelief. Without his brush, he dabbed blood from his throat onto paper, writing poisonous bitch. Then Wanwan. Then questions about eunuchs. Too many blows at once, he couldn't keep up. His blood ran dry. I smiled. Before your rebirth, you tried every cure for impotence. Now all Beijing knows you're useless. Luo Yuzhong grew increasingly agitated. I had to use a stick to help him calm down. When he first reincarnated, even upon hearing of his impotence, he still clung to the hope of a cure. But now, I had shattered every last shred of his hope. He truly experienced being struck by lightning. He wept bitterly, using his fingers to write curses at me. I continued, your reputation is utterly ruined. Immediately after your wedding, you forcibly took dozens of concubines and frequented brothels daily, such debauchery that even the historians condemned you in their annals. Later, you became a eunuch, consuming toads and golden juice for treatment, turning into a laughingstock. Yes. The historians recorded every detail. Historians are upright, they cannot be bribed. So I helped his daughter, married to a faithless man, find new life. Yet she remained stubbornly infatuated with Luo Yuzhong. This enraged the historians, who savagely mocked Luo Yuzhong in their chronicles. I secretly commissioned numerous storybooks, fabricating accounts of Luo Yuzhong's medical practices. Regardless, whether before or after his death, countless people would know he ate feces. Watching Luo Yuzhong's pale face as he gagged, I sneered, Luo Yuzhong, now you've earned your place in the annals of history. Luo Yuzhong had once held promise for official success. In my previous life, even before our marriage, I resolved to manage the inner quarters diligently after our wedding. I would cultivate friendships with noble ladies and concubines to propel Luo Yuzhong's meteoric rise. After all, the higher he climbed, the greater the protection our Chu family would enjoy. Even later, when he schemed to tarnish my reputation, I still prioritized the greater good after our marriage. Doing what I ought to do. I truly let him bask in his triumphant days for a while. This lifetime, I remembered the humble scholars who passed the imperial examinations in my previous life. I proactively befriended them early on. Leveraging my foreknowledge, I gained the Empress's trust. My allies multiplied, and climbing onto Luo Yuzhang's coattails was no longer my only path. He, however, was left with only one value: being exploited by me. Once, others would say my Chu family was climbing above our station by marrying him. Over these 4 years, the tables turned, and now everyone says Luo Yuzhang is dragging me down. I looked at the disheveled Luo Yuzhang with pity. When you reincarnated today, you must have thought that this new life would let you trample me underfoot. How foolish you are. I reincarnated a full 4 years before you. I've exacted every possible revenge on you, the one you loved. Your reputation, your very body, all destroyed by me. In fact, if I hadn't poisoned you to death, you wouldn't have been reborn here at all. Luo Yuzhang pointed at me with trembling fingers, his expression screaming murder. I sneered coldly. Good. Let you witness my revenge firsthand. Luo Yuzhang tried to speak, but several ants had already crawled up the honey-coated path to his lips. Luo Yuzhang's eyes widened in terror. In our past life, Luo Yuzhang deliberately infected us with a plague that caused a rash to erupt all over the body. Unbearably itchy. Scratching until bleeding offered no relief. Victims would unconsciously scratch themselves raw. Any area contaminated with the pus from the rash would trigger even more lesions, making it harder to treat than smallpox. That's why, after a rebirth, I pored over countless texts until I discovered these venomous ants, bites that cause unbearable itching and festering wounds. I declared with satisfaction, this wound feels familiar. Doesn't it? After you die, doctors will declare you infected with a plague. Your body will be burned to ashes, no trace left. Your dozen sons won't even have a grave to mourn at. You've brought utter disgrace upon the Luo family. Not a single soul from the Luo clan will be willing to erect a symbolic grave or pay you any respects. Luo Yuzhang's throat emitted guttural sounds as he struggled in agony. Can't take it already? The annihilation of both body and reputation, this is the fate you personally chose in your previous life. I leaned forward, gripping the stick in my hand tightly. Having learned from past mistakes, I won't let you live much longer. I shattered Luo Yuzhang's wrist. He would never hold a brush again. Truthfully, I felt a twinge of regret. I'd have liked to hear his reaction when he learned of all I'd done. But if he could still send word to the outside world, I'd be living in fear. Sleepless night after night. I splashed more honey water on Luo Yuzhang before strolling away. The next morning, I sought my mother-in-law's mercy. Mother, my husband hasn't eaten in a day. Surely he's calmed down now and won't utter any more reckless words about the palace. Please release him. Mother-in-law stared at the simple porridge and side dishes on the table, rubbing her forehead. No. No. Inger, you may go. She then ordered the servants, keep a close watch. Under no circumstances are the young mistress or the young masters to be allowed anywhere near the ancestral hall. I could only walk away, glancing back every few steps, hearing mother-in-law instruct the servants to bring out delicacies once more. As a dutiful daughter-in-law, I reminded mother-in-law daily to eat lightly, drink sparingly, avoid cold foods in summer, and refrain from spicy dishes in winter. Thus, I withheld delicacies from her. If she craved pleasure, she must abandon the rule of demanding my morning and evening visits. I smiled faintly, returned to the courtyard, and feigned deep sorrow. Before long, my closest confidant, Fan Rongyue, daughter of the court historian, arrived with a group of young ladies. Fan Rongyue's husband and his concubine had bribed the midwife to cause her to die in childbirth. I saved her and helped punish those vile men and women. She felt a kinship with my own suffering, so she never remarried and joined me in running the shop. Now everyone knows that a few days ago, Luo Yuzhang, taking advantage of my absence, spent a fortune buying elixirs. Today was supposed to be the day we split the shop's profits, but I said I had business and didn't go out. Naturally, she worried about me and brought many sisters to see me. Rongyue urged me, sistering. Luo Yuzhang's impotence should count as one of the 7 grounds for divorce. You should divorce him. I shook my head. My husband rambled nonsense after taking the elixir. Mother-in-law locked him up for a full day and night. I truly feared he'd starve. Fan Rongyue pressed anxiously, why can't you be more level-headed? Just then, a shrill scream echoed from the ancestral hall. I dashed out the door. Has something happened to my husband? Fan Rongyue and the others hurried after me. I pursed my lips, already anticipating what new storybooks would flood the market soon. These past 2 years, folk tales about Luo Yuzhang have been flying off the shelves. No need for me to pay writers anymore. Even among scholars heading to the capital for the imperial exams, those who penned the sharpest satirical verses mocking Luo Yuzhang gained favor with the noble ladies during the matchmaking ceremonies. Thus, there were plenty willing to trample him to seek fame and fortune. As far as I knew, among the sisters who followed Rongyue to see me, some had already authored several storybooks. Mother-in-law tried to use household affairs as an excuse to get them to leave the commotion. But the sisters all pretended not to understand, standing united behind me. My eyes were fixed only on Luo Yuzhang. Mother-in-law stood before me, her eyes nearly popping out of her head. Yet I only bellowed, "Husband, you look so pitiful. My heart truly aches for you." Luo Yuzhang's body was covered in blisters, crawling with ants. The servants couldn't clean him properly no matter how hard they tried, so they simply poured a basin of water over him. Luo Yuzhang looked utterly wretched, yet he couldn't utter a word. By then, those present had pieced together the truth. Luo Yuzhang habitually hid elixirs everywhere. In the ancestral hall, he'd concealed one in a jar of honey. Last night, he'd knocked over the honey jar, accidentally attracting ants and bringing disaster upon himself. His mother sighed, what a calamity. She glanced at me. After all, he was her son, and her heart still ached for him. I lowered my gaze. If my husband had stayed in his own courtyard, he wouldn't have suffered this. Who could have predicted that the secluded ancestral hall would harbor ants? His mother fell silent at once. In truth, it was she who had confined her son to the ancestral hall. This time, after examining him, the physician expressed his concern. Young master's throat has also been bitten by ants. These ants are highly venomous. He may never speak again. The mother-in-law was startled for a moment, but then a relieved smile spread across her face. Luo Yuzhang had been watching her intently. Seeing this, he cried out in agitation. I supported Luo Yuzhang and whispered, "Your mother has given up on you." After seeing the doctor off, I also dismissed Rongyue and the others who had watched the spectacle. The mother-in-law's voice brimmed with unchecked joy. Things have come to this. Yuzhang losing his voice as fate's will. Inger, don't grieve too deeply. Just care for him well. I gave a faint nod. I brought Luo Yuzhang back to his room and looked down at him. How does it feel to be waiting to die? Concubines came to see Luo Yuzhang one after another, but none dared to care for him. After all, ever since he became completely useless, his temper had grown fiercely volatile. This time, Luo Yuzhang actually saw his dozen or so children. A flicker of light returned to his eyes. I sneered. When these children grow up, they'll only call me mother, thanking me for feeding and clothing them. They'll despise you for your absurd behavior, blaming you for their suffering. Oh, and remember when I mentioned my collateral branch wanting to adopt 2 children? Your concubines all came begging me, desperate to have their children shed your surname, shed you as their father. What good are countless bloodlines if no one acknowledges you? No one worships your spirit? You'll still die out. Luo Yuzhang couldn't speak or write, only glaring at me with his eyes. I burst into laughter. Outside the door, my 2 children called out, "Mother, we're back." I opened the door. My boys, back from your maternal grandparents' home? Did you have fun? The 2 sons wrapped their arms around my waist. Mother, we were happy. But we heard father caused trouble again. Never mind. Luo Yuzhong suddenly writhed and fell off the bed. I soothed the two children and went to help him up myself. Yes. These two children aren't yours. I was grateful to have been reborn on the very day of our marriage. I hated Luo Yuzhong to the core. Unable to bear consummating our marriage with him. Nor would I ever bear his children. Moreover, I dreaded his extreme, vicious nature when faced with adversity. As the old saying goes, like father, like son. I feared that even with my careful guidance, the children would naturally resemble Luo Yuzhong. So while Luo Yuzhong frequented brothels, I carefully selected a partner and conceived these children. It's strange, he already has numerous offspring. And upon rebirth he insisted on divorcing me. Yet now, learning these two aren't his blood, he flies into a rage. Such a temper. I smiled. Siheng. Ling Yun. Your father will soon die. Though barely 3 years old. The two boys were already remarkably perceptive. Mother. You suffered so much before. Now, without father, your good days are finally here. Mother. Father was just a burden while he lived. Luo Yuzhong had long become a liability to everyone. Luo Yuzhong shouted something in agitation. I soothed him. Don't worry. The moment you die, I'll have Su-Wan buried with you. Luo Yuzhong's gaze could have devoured me whole. I tossed him the 1,000-character classic the children had used to learn to read. He raised his swollen, pus-oozing fingers, grimacing in pain, yet still gritted his teeth to flip through the text. I watched the words his finger pointed to. Wicked woman. Dare not harm Wan Wan. I chuckled softly. I'm no saint. I understood Su-Wan was an orphaned girl, forced to depend on Luo Yuzhong. So, before our marriage in my past life, I met with her and solemnly promised, if she wished to be the mistress of the house, I would help her choose a worthy husband and provide a dowry. She said she didn't want to marry anyone else. So I prepared in advance the shops and estates meant to be hers, waiting only for my wedding day to present them to her during the concubine-taking ceremony. Instead, she devised a poisonous scheme to destroy my virtue, leaving me no way out. Later, after she and Luo Yuzhong rekindled their old affair, she even planned to bribe the midwife to kill me during childbirth. I remembered who that midwife was. This lifetime, I intended to deal with her, only to discover she was delivering Rongyue's child, which is why I saved Rongyue's life. This time, I sent Su-Wan into the palace. The struggle for favor within the palace is far more brutal than in the inner quarters. However, the current empress is forgiving. While she may not achieve great wealth or status in the palace, as long as she keeps to herself, she can still live a life befitting a noble lady. Yet last year, at the palace banquet, she deliberately spilled wine on me. She planned to frame me for adultery with a palace guard when I changed clothes. She resented me for not fully supporting her in her quest for favor, resented me for securing an imperial decree only for myself, and feared I would expose her affair with Luo Yuzhong before she entered the palace. I looked at Luo Yuzhong. Su-Wan has long wanted to kill you. Your death would only please her, no one would ever know her past. When you weren't impotent, you never remained chaste for her. Now that you see no way out, who are you trying to impress with this sudden display of devotion? Luo Yuzhong's ant poison illness grew worse. He could only cling to life until the day of Su-Wan's birthday. 10. These days, the number of storybooks about him has surged again. Among the sisters who came to visit me with Rongyue that day was a talented artist. She illustrated the storybook with over a dozen vividly lifelike pictures of Luo Yuzhong being bitten by ants. The illustrated storybook sold like hotcakes the moment it hit the market. I deliberately bought several copies for Luo Yuzhong to see. He was furious enough to burst a blood vessel. Mother-in-law also saw the storybook. Embarrassed, she refused to leave the house for days. Sneaking off to the opera house, she was startled and fell, breaking her leg. I petitioned the Empress for mercy, asking her to allow Suwon to leave the palace to visit her mother-in-law. Mother-in-law was both afraid and angry, yet dared not defy Her Majesty the Empress. I remained as affectionate as ever, mother-in-law. I cannot let my husband die with regrets. But please, do not let Lady Wan know of my husband's condition. I fear her worry might cause her to slip up. Mother-in-law nodded. Clearly, she had always known of Luo Yuzhong and Suwon's illicit affair before their marriage. I smiled faintly as attendants carried out Luo Yuzhong. Gasping for breath, he hunched his neck, desperately trying to hide the festering sores covering his body. But Suwon still turned pale with fright. She even turned away and retched softly. Seeing Suwon's reaction, Luo Yuzhong shed tears. Then, disregarding the palace maids and eunuchs following behind, he stared fixedly at Suwon, mouthing her name. Mother-in-law coughed violently. Suwon shifted uncomfortably, yet Luo Yuzhong refused to relent. I deliberately added in a sour tone, "My lord was delirious these past days, calling only your name. Who would have thought it would continue even today?" Suwon stiffened further. I couldn't tell if Luo Yuzhong was desperately declaring his love before death, or if, like in his previous life, he'd lost all hope and now sought to drag someone down to hell with him. In any case, Suwon ended his suffering first. I claimed mother-in-law had been coughing incessantly and insisted on personally escorting her back to her chambers to rest. Mother-in-law kept pinching me. "Inger, you've lost your mind. How could you let them meet alone?" Fearing the eunuchs and maids might overhear, she dared not speak loudly. I pretended not to hear. After settling my mother-in-law, I returned to the front hall to find Suwon standing in horror. Just now, Luo Yuzhong suddenly collapsed and died. "You murdered him." I insisted on reporting it to the authorities. Suwon didn't know the Empress had granted me a favor. Hearing I'd even wanted to catch ants to bite me, to test the poison on myself, she arranged for the palace physicians to examine Luo Yuzhong. The imperial physicians had just departed moments before Suwon's carriage arrived at the Luo residence. They stated Luo Yuzhong was already immobile. Having ingested too many elixirs, the poisoning was too complex and deep-seated. So how could Luo Yuzhong possibly have fallen from his wheelchair on his own? Suwon had no defense. Moreover, I had the coroner perform an autopsy. Luo Yuzhong died from suffocation. The incense powder residue found in his nostrils and mouth matched only that on Suwon's handkerchief. That year, while at the nunnery, Suwon had accidentally learned a unique art of perfume blending. The emperor greatly favored the fragrances she created, so she refused to give them to others. When blending or burning incense, she dismissed all servants and completed the task in secret. Suwon was placed under house arrest. Luo Yuzhong had not yet been buried. Wang Yanci, the right assistant minister, submitted a memorial stating that Luo Yuzhong's wounds bore a resemblance to the symptoms of an epidemic he had encountered during his mission to Tanzhou. Moreover, the Taoist priest who deceived Luo Yuzhong spoke with a Tanzhou accent. "In my previous life, after the floods in Tanzhou, an epidemic broke out. Ultimately, Luo Yuzhong deliberately brought infected individuals into the capital, causing great suffering among the common people. This time, I preemptively dealt with the Tan Prefecture magistrate who embezzled dike construction funds and later misappropriated disaster relief money. I also donated extra silver to ensure flood-release dikes in Tan Prefecture and other areas were completed as scheduled. Though this year's rains were heavier, the dikes prevented significant flooding. The epidemic only broke out on a small scale, and I had long requested physicians to prepare countermeasures." Wang Yanci, the right assistant secretary, was one of the scholars from humble backgrounds I had once sponsored. I preserved his hometown of Tanzhou and bestowed upon him the merit of halting the epidemic in time. He was more than willing to use epidemic prevention as justification to petition for the burning of Luo Yuzhong's corpse. Thanks to the talented artist's illustrations depicting Luo Yuzhong's skin ulcers, His Majesty granted the petition. The empress remarked that I had remained deeply devoted to Luo Yuzhong, prompting His Majesty to specially bestow treasures from the imperial treasury upon me as consolation. The gifts were exceptionally generous. For the Right Assistant Secretary stated that all who had come into contact with Luo Yuzhong must also remain confined at home for over 10 days of observation to see if symptoms developed. Thus, neither I, nor my mother-in-law, nor any of Luo Yuzhong's children, indeed, not a single member of the Luo clan, could bid him farewell. Just as I had foretold, Luo Yuzhong would be reduced to ashes, leaving only infamy behind. My mother-in-law sank into despair for days before attempting to win me over once more. With her own son dead, she could only survive by currying favor with me. But I abruptly changed my stance. While accusing my mother-in-law of cruelty, I also lodged complaints against Luo Yuzhong and Su Wan, premarital adultery, collusion with bandits, and plotting to ruin my reputation. I wrote a blood-stained petition, each word dripping with tears, declaring I could not believe my beloved husband harbored such malicious intent before our marriage. Even though he was dead, I begged for a divorce. The evidence? Naturally, it was the love letters between him and Su Wan, the portrait he painted of her, and the tokens of their connection to bandits, all discovered while I was sorting through my late husband's belongings. Matters involving Luo Yuzhong always drew attention. With so many aware of Consort Wan's infidelity, the emperor was enraged. A thorough investigation soon located a bandit who had escaped years ago, who testified against Su Wan. Su Wan was sentenced to death, since she had also come into contact with Luo Yuzhong, even touching his infected wound. The Right Assistant Secretary, dutifully fulfilling his duty, petitioned that for epidemic prevention, Su Wan should also be cremated. The emperor granted it. When the empress had first married him as crown prince consort, others had similarly schemed to frame her for unchastity. No woman could fail to loathe such machinations. Learning that Su Wan too had been reduced to charred bones finally made me laugh. After all, I had been reborn. After I poisoned Luo Yuzhong, he too had been reborn. There was no guarantee that Su Wan, entangled in this web of love and hatred, hadn't been reborn as well. That's why I went to such lengths to ensure her death was absolute, so that even if reborn, she could do nothing. The empress took pity on me and specially granted me a divorce to leave the Luo family. My mother-in-law, overcome with distress, suffered a stroke. She had already broken her leg, leaving her half-body weak and unsteady. Now, paralyzed on one side, she needed help even for eating and using the lavatory. However, without my lavish support, the Luo family's meager resources wouldn't even cover her medicine. At that moment, I declared with righteous indignation that I would still care for my mother-in-law and Luo Yuzhong's concubine and children. In truth, I went to tell my mother-in-law, "Mother, thank you for deliberately placing Luo Yuzhong in the ancestral hall." She finally saw my true colors. That very night, she set fire to the Luo family shrine, burning herself along with it, along with the wooden door mechanism I'd installed during the mansion's renovation. Allowing free access to the shrine, she destroyed all traces of evidence. For years afterward, I raised Si Heng and Ling Yin alone. Both proved worthy. And gradually, no one mentioned that their father was Luo Yuzhong. I continued my imperial merchant business. With experience from my past life, I gained some early advantages. Most of the money I earned, I donated to repairing water conservancy projects or buying medicinal herbs to give to the poor. As for Luo Yuzhong's children, I supported them according to their individual aptitudes, some immersed in the classics, others learning a trade. Our relationship remained neither warm nor hostile. I granted his concubines permission to remarry or join me in my livelihood. After my divorce, my friendship with Rongyue deepened. Whenever we encountered women wronged by their husbands, we encouraged them to seek divorce. At the very least, they should see through their husband's true character and not continue to be deceived. Even in my old age, Many still invited me to spring banquets and double-ninth feasts where young men and women sought matches, asking me to assess the girls. I lived to be 90, an exceptionally long life. As my eyes closed, I seemed to hear someone say, "Chewing saved countless disaster victims, it was not in vain that she foresaw her own end." I vaguely recalled that after Luo Yuzhong poisoned our entire Chu family, my parents stepped forward to volunteer as test subjects for the antidote. We donated all our stockpiled medicinal herbs. When the remedies proved futile, our family gave away every last coin, pleading with the authorities to continue treating the stricken. We also requested our bodies be burned after death to halt the spread. Rebirth? Premonition? It matters not. This life of mine has been lived with utter freedom. The end.